very short moment recall the speeches of some of the other folks who have spoken before us, because they are very relevant to what we're trying to do here. We heard Mr. Haryana and Mr. Rajesh Agarwal talk about the next generation of citizen services, including revolutionary ideas like, whether any transaction, e-service should be treated as an elimination of an unnecessary service. Okay? I believe in what we're trying to show here, perhaps we're trying to get there somewhere. Okay? We've also seen some interesting new ideas that have been propped up. I remember Prashant of CA talking about having centralized identity management systems wherein each application software is not going to do user ID password checking independently of each other. I believe we'll have an opportunity to see some of those things here. We've also seen, for example, Koshi talking about new ways of looking at CSCs. We've seen other speakers talk about new ideas. I don't promise that all of them you'll see here, and I do not say that we have all been there, done that. In fact, what I intend to show is not merely what we have done, but what is possible for the future. So in that sense, I'd like to make a confession that some of what I will show today, what I will attempt to show today, is actually a promise of the future, not a been there, done that. Okay? And as we move through, I will tell you what is a bit of a promise and what is already there and real. Okay? And then, just before I take off a bit more, only one small admission here. Due to the special locational constraints of the UK guest house, one portion of the demo that we're trying to show may be extraordinarily slow because of network connectivity. Of that portion alone, if you are not able to get enough speed, I will switch over to a sort of a slideshow. Okay? But the slideshow itself has been made to demonstrate the power of integration, and we'll move forward from there. Now, with that quick look, I'll pick up the thread where Mr. Malik left. Okay, he was talking about names, he was talking about addresses. The point that I would like to call your attention is that every time we develop software, we are tempted to anchor to our past. So we develop these things based on the paper forms that we have. Okay, I would invite you to go back to any website that you have, government website, and try to see how the e-forms are and how close they are to the paper forms. The particular point that I want to draw your attention is that, do you expect the paper form to give you any sort of a feedback? As you fill your name, when you make a mistake of the sort that Mr. Malik mentioned, do you expect the paper to correct it for you? It does not. Sadly, all our software has been written the same way. If in this form, which is a typical form that is out there, the one actually on the site at the moment is slightly different, not exactly the same, so technically it's different, but otherwise in principle it's the same. When you mistype something, it has absolutely no way of pointing it out to you. Okay? Whether it is your address, whether it is your name, whether it is your date of birth, anything else. Another fundamental point that I'd like to draw to the attention here is that it has no way of identifying you. How are the paper forms done? You have to identify yourself as Mr. So-and-so, son of so-and-so, aged about so many years, residing in this place. Why so much of information is required to identify you? Because there is no other way of narrowing down the difference between you and 10 other people with the same name. I'm sure many of us have names for which, there are 10 other people with the same name. That is the reason why we want all that. Now, instead of addressing the problem to computers, what we've done is we've simply computerized the forms and are asking the same points here. Okay? So when somebody says they're a Saurav Gupta, I am afraid that this computer, this particular form, has no idea which particular Saurav Gupta out of the 10 possible candidates you are. So it asks for additional information and gives you 5 additional chances for you to make mistakes. And then there is a government guy sitting on the other end of the form who will keep sending you back. Okay? Or puts the burden of asking you proofs with them. I remember when I applied for my director's identity number, the paper came back to me 7 times. Okay, it goes all the way to Delhi and it comes back. Why? Some small little thing is different. Okay, now what we're trying to do is to go away from that. In what way? We're trying to add an inspiration here. Say, don't just type in your name, please identify yourself. That means you're not moving forward before you've told the computer exactly who you are. Now we also try to make it very easy and simple. We tried not to make it too cumbersome. Okay? So that means if you have a very quick, fastest way of identifying yourself, for example, the Aadhaar number, boom, you move to the next step. Okay? Don't have Aadhaar number, no problem. Let's try and find you as quickly as possible. So in every one of the forms that I will be showing in the demonstration, you will not find any form that says, what is your name? What is the mother's name? What is the father's name? No. We say, identify the subject, identify the mother, identify the father. Okay? That is what I would say is truly knowing your citizen and truly demonstrating the identity-powered information systems. Okay? Same thing with where you live. It doesn't matter how you write the address, is only a label. If we know where you live, that's good enough. Okay? So, with this, I want to just, rather than talk a lot about the whole thing, I will move to the demonstration of the stuff. This is where everything can go haywire. Please hold on. Okay, what I have here is an already login, a login that has already been done. Okay, we've logged in as a government servant, and the map has taken him to the place of interest where he is posted. Okay, so let us for a moment try. This is the time of test for truth. Okay. So the moment I click on demographics data, it tries to connect to a server online, and it tries to get back whether it has all the demographic data for inside our databases. So here, whether it is a paper form or an equivalent of a paper form, we have built-in intelligence wherein it says the village is Barwala, the total population that we have is this, and all the other information that is coming in from the state resident database for the village Barwala. This is a huge contrast from the census data. I want to deliberately show you, put both these things side by side. I am now querying the census database that we have, a copy of the census database that we have out here, and if you are okay, and the network connectivity is okay, we'll get the census data immediately. Now, while we are looking for it, a critical difference I want to point out. The difference between the census data and this is that in the census data, even though the numbers may look the same, we really don't know who these 7,500 people are. It is only a summary number that has been keyed in by a data entry operator. If we have subtotals, we really don't know where they are from as they change. If new people are born, if people migrate, if people die, those numbers do not change for the next 10 years. Here, this is integrated tightly with every other system that we have developed. That means as an entry is made in the birth register or in the death register, okay, these numbers change. As new people come in and verify their caste, the caste statistics change. As people grow older, the age statistics change. This is a live database, and this is a power of integration. So, as suspected, we have a little bit of a slow piece here. Let's leave that out there. Okay, I'll close this out, and what I will do is that rather than try and test your patience, I'll move to screenshots to demonstrate the points that I'm trying to make here. Okay, this is the map screen that I showed you. As a person logs in, they're taken directly there. And when you select the village name comes up. When you ask for demographic data, it directly connects to the state resident database, picks up the information. When you ask for the census data, equivalent information pops up. This is a static information. When I ask for health department data, you will find that at the top corner there, now the health icon has been highlighted. A small yellow, green yellow appears on a medical chest. Now the statistics, this is all sample data. This is not live data, completely anonymized sample data. So there is some sample data out there which says, birth statistics, death statistics, health facilities that are out there, and so forth. Okay. Now what am I trying to show here? What I'm trying to show here is a small vision, a small peek into the future of how systems can talk to each other and present information to you in a very powerful way. Okay. Now this is an interesting portion. Okay, this is what I would have actually liked to show live. Okay, and if possible at some other location I will. Now, what I'm showing here is an integration of the electricity metering billing application where we have the location of every single electricity meter in the village of Burwala. What we've done is that as the meter reader went through with the tablet device and heard the meter readings, we have also noted the location where the meter reading was entered and said here is an electricity meter, which actually means here is approximately this person's house. So against each electricity meter, the corresponding address is already located, and so I now, while doing the meter reading without any additional effort, I have a real location of where you live, irrespective of how you write your address. Just as with your Aadhaar number, with your mobile number, with other forms of identification, I know who you are, irrespective of how many mistakes you might like to make in filling a paper form. Okay, so what we've done here as a demonstration is that not only am I querying the meter number is real, the name is not, name is anonymized. Okay, the meter reading was real in June. Okay, this was a sample data taken in June. That particular meter was really burnt. Okay, and if I wanted to, I could have shown what, when was his last payment, how much is it due, and so forth. Instead, what we did is we integrated with a sample of socioeconomic caste census data. It's a sample, it was not a real piece, we really built it up fictitiously. And we said, from our state resident database, these are the people who live in that house, the household information. This is a nuclear family with just 3 people living in that house. But can I know more about their family, irrespective of whether they're staying there or not? So here we have done a deep modeling of differentiating between a family and a household. Okay, so what we did is using the socioeconomic caste census data where some amount of family information is captured. Okay, we built a family tree and we started displaying it. So this is deep knowledge regarding the citizens that we have. Now imagine a citizen who might be wanting to fake his biometrics, who might be wanting to fake a whole bunch of things. Will he also fake his family? He needs to go to really, really deep planning if he has to really fake the system this way. Okay. The other things that we did as a demonstration, Mr. Malik was asking about a citizen wanting to know whether a particular service is available in a particular place. So here we've tied it up with the industries database, okay, a survey that was done, and all the industries around Burwala are placed on the map. So not only we have citizens data, their location data, but every other bit of intelligence that is out there, that every system talking to each other in a live manner. That means if that person files a particular annual return or any other government filing, and if the details change, potentially, this is where I would submit that this is marketing pitch to some extent, to a small extent, okay, potentially that can appear here. Okay. What is real in this is that these systems do talk to each other. That part of it is not just a show. Okay. This data has been done as an industries department system, health department system, and so forth. So all these systems do exist. Okay? But these have been done to demonstrate the potential of integration. Okay? They will go live upon the demand of the departments concerned. Okay? We would really want the departments to see these and say, hey, I want that. Okay? So on that happy note, I will just cross this and move on to the next phase of the demonstration. Okay, for this, I actually invite my colleague and project manager of IVISS, Alok, to come and join me here. So if I could borrow the mic. Yeah. Alok. Okay, what? Can you have this mic turned on, please?
Yeah, it is in your hand only. I think it is turned on.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so what we're going to try and show is a pretty complicated bit of circus from a computer software point of view. I'm actually happy to be away from behind that. Okay, just as I mentioned to you earlier, okay, and just as the introduction was also made, this is an e-services integration framework. Okay, so the emphasis is on integration. The emphasis is not on developing isolated bits and pieces of software. So that means what we're showing here is an orchestration of 12 different application software that are all talking to each other as we speak. Okay. So over the period, I will try and digress a little bit and talk about a little bit about this integration. Okay. What we'll be showing is citizen services related use cases, 2 or 3 use cases we will try and present you. The first screen that you see is an assisted citizen services portal, wherein you can imagine a village level entrepreneur, a CSC operator, sitting in front and is saying, okay, I need to log in. So the first point is, CFOs are there, anybody else on the IDM side. When you try to log in here, immediately you are redirected to a central authentication system. That means each application software that we have does not write its own authentication, does not have its own user databases. So, go ahead please. So this goes to our identity management server. All logins happen there. Okay. So if you whether you're logging into a citizen services portal or elsewhere, everywhere you will come the same way. This one supports multiple authentication mechanisms, the 2-factor authentication mechanism that we talked about, okay, as well as mobile device authentication in a few other pieces. The moment you log in, you are presented on the left-hand corner there. You will see a bunch of green stubs, each of which is an application system. This system automatically goes and queries every department that is integrated and asks, is your system alive? If it is alive, it presents in green here. Each system then also enumerates the services it provides to the system and says, I provide to you this many services, and these are the labels. These labels and these services are dynamically populated. These are not just HTML links like in a website. Okay? So actually there is a health check going on in the background. There is a profiling, application profiling that is going on in the background, and at any given point in time it is feasible for us to detect if an application is slow and give a hint out here and so on. Now let's go ahead and without further ado try and the business logic and the control is completely with the health department. So we have not taken over those systems. It is just that we have provided a window, a virtual window for the health department to project it without really knowing where this window is. They don't need to know. They have absolutely no idea. The administrator is only administrating their system. Okay? And if 5 minutes ago, if he has changed his forms, you will see the changed forms here. Okay? And he doesn't have to come and administer an our server. So those of you who are IT professionals would appreciate that. Can we go ahead, please? And we've made the forms very user-friendly. Okay, the first portion of it is the child details. We try to take the most important pieces first and the less important pieces later. Okay, and on the left-hand side, I will point out that there is a 5-step wizard there. Okay, it's a minor. It's not a technology piece. It's a minor process and user interface related piece. As we go forth, that will keep moving from step by step. It will keep moving from orange to green. Can we go ahead, please? So now, I want to point out to you here that we are now asking in the parents detail, identify the mother. The system already understands that there is a high probability that the mother is from Barwala because the operator is from Barwala and Barwala has been prefilled. So it will try, the moment you type in a name, one moment please, before you type in a name. Can you go back? Yeah, just leave it. Now, the moment you type in a name, it will try and look in only for, let us say, grown-up ladies born in Barwala or married into Barwala. This is the intelligence that we have built in here. However, if there are exception cases, you simply, there is a small little thing, not from Barwala, question mark there, you click on it and say, I am not from Barwala, somewhere else. And it will go look there too. So we're trying prompting it intelligently. And you'll also notice that the hint out there is that it says mother's name. You can type in the mother's name, we know that you're typing in a name. Or you can type in a UID. So if you're typing in an Aadhaar number, we recognize that it's likely to be an Aadhaar number. If it is not an Aadhaar number, if it is only an EID you didn't get received, we detect, okay, this looks like an EID and not an Aadhaar number, we go for the EID. Okay? Or if you type a mobile number, we try and distinguish and say, Aadhaar number cannot be 10 digits, it must be a mobile number. Okay? So, any which way it is possible, we try and narrow down the possibilities. For simplicity, to give you the worst possible case, मेरे पास ये सब कुछ नहीं है, I am not giving my mobile number to you, take my name. Go ahead, please. So now, there could be many Nirmalas in Barwala. Okay, I would assume that there are many. So in case there are, it brings up, okay, our friend chose something wherein there's only one name. But if there were, Each of those nirmalas will be presented to the operator here with some amount of additional information, helping him narrow down and say, please tell me which of these nirmalas the mother is. So the emphasis is not on the name alone, but on circumstantially or in any other possible way, okay, identify the person. So if there were a photograph, the photograph would appear here. Okay, so let's go ahead and select. Okay. And you will find that the identification of the father has automatically come in. Okay, yes, there are esoteric cases where the father's name may need to be changed, but we know that by and far, this is what is likely to help. Okay, invariably, these are the places where, in my experience, in rural Haryana, tremendous amount of craziness happens. Okay, mother's name, father's name are given by what the grandparents call them. And later they keep on coming back and say, नहीं उस नाम तो दे दिया था, उसी तो बुलाते हैं, लेकिन अभी birth certificate में ये नाम चाहिए. If we are going by an identification piece, okay, so we will take away the Mungis and Chotus and Choturams and get them into a proper identification mechanism, not make them run around and move forward. Let's move forward. Now you'll also notice that the number of children, can you go back for a moment please? We already know that they already have one child. Okay, if we do, it automatically understands and moves forward. If we have their date of marriage, the age of marriage of the mother comes up. So this is all optional information. If you want to consider it, the mother's age at this birth is already filled up because we know the date of birth of the mother. Okay? So again, we're making life easier for the citizens. We're giving less opportunity for careless mistakes to be committed. How many of us really care how we are filling these forms, especially if it is not a critical piece? Which story do ya? Okay, so we are avoiding that and giving the government an opportunity to get more accurate data as much as we can. Can we move forward, please? So for speed, we will try and not fill up everything else. Okay, and so there was, now what it says is that very recently, probably another half an hour ago while testing, our friends had enrolled another child with the exact same details. If they had, it says, look, you need to confirm whether this is a twin birth that you're trying to enter or somebody has reported, don't worry about it. The same kind of information is also given to the birth registrar. So let us for a moment call this a twin. We'll say somebody else is involved. Now, once this is done, it is sent to the registrar for approval. Okay, to enter it into the registry. And for the person to track here, you will find the birth service registration number has been given, a service request number has been given. This number again has been designed to make it difficult to make mistakes and be unique across crores of citizens. No matter how much you try to fudge this number, try and keep on guessing other numbers in the sequence or out of sequence, your possibilities of trying to guess and get somebody else's status are extraordinarily rare. Okay, so we made it that way and you can follow it up from here. So once this happens, what we do is that instead of asking the registrar to actually log into a system or to a data entry operator process it, we are giving him Android tablets. Okay, this is one possibility. You don't have to take the Android tablet, you could do it in this one also, but since we're talking about the future here, we thought we'll show off a little bit, a few of the tricks here. On the tablet, once the registrar logs in, it comes up in his to-do list. And when it comes up in his to-do list, okay, he will be able to pick it up and approve it right there on the tablet. Okay, please give us a moment. Yes, now what you see on the screen is a tablet that Alok has, that he has kept here. Okay, and he will try and show what he is doing to you while he is doing this. So on this is a Haryana eSeva application. Okay, and when he selects the application, it actually connects to our servers and identifies itself to the server. So there is a phenomenal amount of security that we have built in here, again for those of us who are authentication security buffs. Okay, the device actually identifies itself. If it is not a known device, it will not be allowed to connect. If it is outside its geographic perimeters, it will not be allowed to connect. Okay. Now, if it is within the geography that it is meant to be and it is a known device, then the list of known users come up. That means even though there are several lakh government employees, only these 4 employees are allowed to log in into this particular device in this particular location. Okay, so let's go ahead and log in. You will notice that you will not get a full keyboard at all. This is the only place where you will even find a semblance of a keyboard. Okay, this entire software is available in Hindi also, and at some point in time maybe we'll try and switch. You can switch between English and Hindi here for the ease of government servants across the rural population. Now when this happens, okay, an OTP, a one-time password is sent to the phone. It has come to Alok's mobile phone number now, okay, and instead of using a password that could be given away to data entry operators, an authenticated mobile number of the official, okay, which the official will be reluctant to give away because they have actually identified themselves with it and the Department of Personnel is managing it, gets the OTP. Now he keys in the OTP, here he gets, okay, you will find that these are the 2 pending births that have been reported that are waiting to be authenticated. I want to highlight to you, if you remember how much of data we entered while we were doing, we hardly entered anything. We just said, you know, gender of the child, date of birth, and identify the mother. That's all we did, right? Now let's see how much of data actually appears here. Can you go ahead, please? So using a touch interface is clicking on it, and now you will notice that the address has appeared. The address was not keyed in. It was taken in from the system because we already know we did not even ask for your address. Okay? The family details were not really keyed in. Now the registrar is actually being empowered with a lot of information based on which he can make informed decisions. Okay, in case of a birth, there may not be a whole lot of informed decision that needs to be made, except for the fact that has this already been done. Okay, that's about all. Or like, you know, as is the case wherein, you know, we want to change the date of birth of the child just for school admission's sake, they are not going to take it dobara register kar lenge. Okay, we have seen many of these cases. Agar dobara register kar liye, usually you will find it in the 4-5 month gap. Say only 4 months ago, this mother gave birth to a child, 4 mahine mein dusra kaise aa gaya? Is a possible question that the registrar can ask. Okay, so that's the way that we can look at and empower, okay, with a connected, integrated system. Now let's go ahead and approve this. Okay, yeah, if you were doing a live system, I could actually take you back to the map and then show you that the number of people in Barwala has increased. Okay, so that's the power of this system, wherein we don't have to wait for the next 10 years of the census before we know how many people have changed. So that means if we implement it right, we could perhaps cut short on the census effort phenomenally. Okay, now let's go ahead and finish this. Now, the moment this is completed here, we'll go back to the web-based interface and then we'll show that that particular service request number has already been approved. Okay, so while we are moving quickly, I'm actually trying to show you a whole gamut of technologies that are in use here. Okay, so this was the point I was making. The reds start becoming greens as you keep moving to the system. So the citizen now comes back to this one. The registrar is sitting somewhere else. He may have taken half a day or 1 day to do it. He can, if the citizen does not see immediate response, he can come back and say, type in the SRN and ask for the status. DYNCs. So now it says verified by Suraj Singh is who's the registrar, okay, and the verification date is this, verified, okay, and let's go ahead with the next one and see if we can get a birth certificate.
Sorry for the Now, you see, this process of verification has been brought in because of the insistence of health department. There is a way really to dispense with this verification process itself. And that's what one is trying to say. Because in the case of Haryana state, as per the information shared by the health department with us, about 84% deliveries are institutional deliveries and 16% deliveries are non-institutional or home deliveries. Out of 84% institutional deliveries, about 55% deliveries are through private clinics, nursing homes, hospitals, and 45% are through government hospital facilities. What I was trying to argue with the health department is that they should have the complete healthcare system, they should have a register of the complete healthcare system in Haryana as a part of their records, including each and every private clinic, nursing home, hospital. And why would you simply authorize the medical officer who is delivering the baby to enter about the birth of this child from the hospital there in the same manner as a MO does in a government hospital or a PHC? But right now there is a mental block. वैसे नहीं, ये तो सिर्फ हमारा MO इसको approve कर सकता है. Now when I ask what information or what way your MO has about a birth taking place in a private hospital, they said वहां से information आएगी, मेरा MO उसको ANM के पास भेजेगा, ANM who is maintaining the records of the expectant mothers, she will verify, then it will come back, only then the MO will authorize. I think this is where we have to look at it. A trust deficit and the process changes, because what I was suggesting is, wherever it's an institutional delivery, let the concerned medical officer report it and let it become a part of the state birth register. In case of non-institutional deliveries, in case of a rural area, authorize any two persons, say an ANM, Anganwadi worker, a village lambardar, to submit a form as an information form signed by both of them, which could be scanned and kept as a backup kind of evidence, based on which the birth gets registered. Probably let us see whether they are able to cut ice with the health department on this.
Thank you. Now, what we'll do quickly, can we please get the certificate of this? Just take a quick look at the certificate and a small little set of innovations that we've done with the certificate. Part of this, actually, my colleague Ghanshyam Mansal has already mentioned, or as part of his e-district project also, the idea of using QR codes for online verification and so forth. Okay, so now this is a standardized birth certificate format that we would like to use. Since the name has not been given at birth, that portion of it has been blacked out so that potential doctoring has been taken care of. And all the information has come up, including those that you have not filled in. Okay? And those of you in the live system, this is a demonstration system, if you go and actually click your smartphone on the QR code, it will go connect to a public server and it will come back and give you the data and says this is the data that was originally issued against this birth certificate. That means if somebody tried to do photoshopping of this certificate, modification, creating something that looks like this, that could easily be beaten. If those of you who don't want to use smartphones or don't have access to QR codes at that moment that you want to do, if you're a relying party, there is a URL that is a verification link that is given at the bottom, and that could be used for verification too. In essence, what we're saying is that if somebody gives you, tears off a big portion of this birth certificate and gives you only the QR code portion of it, you are in business because it is as good as the whole certificate. So, do you really need 10 different originals? I don't think anymore. You don't really need 10 originals because this will simply prove the data. Okay, this was a point actually Rajesh Agrawal was also mentioning, that why can't we do away with some of these certificates? I believe we can. Okay? And hopefully some of these things will inspire those changes. So that's the future that we're talking about. Let's leave that alone. Hello. Let's move on to the next one. Alok was actually trying to demonstrate that the QR code works. Okay? In the interest of time, we already eaten up a lot of your time. In the interest of your time, what we'd like to do is to move on to the next use case of how this can help reduce the burden of the government servants too. So for that, we'll demonstrate a caste certificate issuance. Okay? So first, let me show you the caste of a person in our database whose caste is not known to the database. It is part of the unknown caste or undeclared caste that we have already seen. So we'll take one person in a family, show that we do not have his or her caste, issue a caste certificate to a family person, a relative of the family, and then we will show you that because we have the family information, no government servant will ever need to verify the caste of any of those people. That means if you have an extended family, if you only look at the nuclear family part of it, average family size in Haryana is about 5. That means we have cut down the verification burden of the government servants by 5. In reality, if we propagate this to the mothers and to the children and as well as on the siblings on both sides, I would wager that we will cut down the work on account of caste certification alone by 20 rather than 1/5. We could make it 1/20. Okay, so let's go ahead. Put in some name. So, like before, what we're talking about is identification of the person. Okay, so once the person is identified, okay, so just for identification, we'll put in a photograph of the lady there. Okay, so let's so that we can identify her later, and just put it there. Now you will find that her age has already been filled up, and it is asking us to tell what is the caste and caste category. The fact that it is asking means the system does not know the person's caste. Now let's just drop out of here for a moment and give the caste certificate to some relative of this lady Kanika. Can we go ahead please? Begin at the beginning again. Okay. Now we'll issue caste certificate to Kanika's father, brother, someone in the family. Okay. He'll make sure based on the address that someone we are choosing, not that it is good. So now we have chosen Yashpal. I don't really know if they're say living in the same address, so I'm assuming they're relatives. Okay, we'll issue a caste certificate to this person. Needless to say, if the system shows caste for this person, my demo is shot already. We failed. Okay, so yes, the system doesn't have for the whole family. Okay, so let's give. Okay, BC B category, low caste. Let's go ahead. Now the way this whole thing works is exactly the same as before. Just like the birth certificate, the Patwari or the Tahsildar who's supposed to verify could have a tablet, could have a computer. On that you will get the whole details. You will notice that they did not type in the address, they did not type in their father's name, mother's name, whole bunch of identification information. We simply went directly identify the person. Go ahead please. But the person who's verifying is given the complete information so that they are not operating in vacuum. So that they are not forced to ask the person, ye lao, address proof lao, ye declaration lao, wo declaration lao. Not necessary. No affidavits, no address proofs, because as long as we have it in the system, we don't need to do anything else. So what he's trying to do now is to log in as, let us say, Tahsildar or someone into the back office system. So you will find that whether it is the birth information system, madness information system, CSA portal, or this one, the login screen is practically the same for everything. So we are all using the same single sign-on mechanism. So now this is how instead of on a tablet, if the person were to be looking at the computer, these are the pending items that are out there. They can view details. The same thing will come also on tablet. So it's the choice depending on how it has been implemented in the back office. Okay, so let's choose the Yashpal is right on top. View details, you will find that all sorts of information that has not been filled in is available here, okay, including the family members and stuff. Okay, you will probably find, if you scroll, you will find Kanika somewhere on this list. There you go. You know the relationship between those two people. Sister. Oh, okay. So let's go ahead and approve this and see what happens to Kanika's trust. Okay, for the purpose of brevity, what we will do is that we will not bother looking at Yashpal's caste certificate because we already know how it looks like, right? So let's directly go ahead and see what happens to Kanika's case. Just show me the status on this. Go to the next and show me the status that it has been approved. So the pending, which was on the third line, now has turned to approved. Okay, so whatever has been done, whether it is done through a web-based interface or through a tablet interface, all logins, including the tablet login, goes to our own single sign-on system. Now let's go back. Go back and see what happened to Kanika. So we issued the certificate to Yashpal. Yashpal has come, paid his fee, collected and gone. Okay, let's see what happens to it. So when Usha and Kanika, I'll also show you the payment process portion of it. There was, the folks from Himachal, if they are here, there was a slide from the Himachal presentation on the payment related process. So if they're here, I would like to make a point. This is my point. So while he's filling that up, the payment side of it, then I'll show you and tell you. This is a completely new payment aggregation system that we have developed, wherein a village level entrepreneur can be serving multiple departments and boards and corporations, and all the payments that are collected by one VLE are actually disaggregated and accounted against each of the departments. Okay? And from a departmental point of view, services delivered by any number of VLEs are aggregated and brought. Okay, this takes care of the aggregation and disaggregation. Similarly, from a VLE's point of view, no matter how many departments he is serving, all the fees that are due to him are aggregated and delivered to him. So it is a payment aggregation and disaggregation system. We believe this has been developed in this manner for the first time in the country. I am not sure. If someone knows a different system, then I would be happy to know that. Can you go ahead, please? So now we are no longer asking. Only a few minutes ago, the system was asking for her caste. She's saying we don't know. Now that we know that her brother has been verified, the system no longer asks. This is directly work that has been reduced from the government officials. Efficiency of a minimum of 5 times. Go ahead, please. So now that there is no verification required, this has become an across the counter service. Okay? Since caste stays forever, you don't have to keep on verifying. For a lifetime, this work is done. And go ahead, please. Says pay now. So now this is an opportunity for us to show off the payment portion of it. Go ahead, please. So we are now simulating as if the service request has been made here and the payment counter is somewhere else. If the payment counter is not there, you would simply access it right from here. But in case the payment counter is elsewhere, then this guy goes and says, I want to pay you the money here. Okay, let us pretend that the fee that needs to be paid to the government is 20 rupees and 1 rupee is the fee service charge that the eSeva center charges. Okay, so the eSeva center collects cash for 21 rupees. Immediately a cash receipt is generated. Would you like to show the cash receipt? Okay, it's an interesting portion there. So the cash receipt is on the left hand side. Okay, that is an eSeva branded receipt that comes out on a 40-column printer, and it can be given off as a receipt. It gives all the details that are out there, and it can be shown in case the service fulfillment is taken a little later. This serves as the proof. It also carries the service request number, which is out there. Right. Let's close this out. Go to the certificate. So now that the payment has been done, the certificate for Kanika can be downloaded. You will notice that it looks almost the same as the birth certificate with the minus the CRS logo. And if there is a photograph, the photograph appears. Remember, we have not asked Kanika for a photograph. It was already in the system. Okay, and we have a data enrichment module that says when a citizen comes to the counter for service, if the photograph is more than 2 years old, we have an option. This part of it is not. This part of it alone I have not yet implemented. We have an option to ask them to update their photograph.
One interruption. Here again, in the process, if you see that there are a number of items pending verification or authentication. I am saying where a person comes for the first time to ask for that certificate and his caste is not recorded in the database, not verified, validated. Why go through this process and give the Naib Tasildar or the Patwari a tablet? As he is busy in all kinds of things, every third day probably he will say, "Mera tablet gum ho gaya ji, mera to kharab ho gaya, wo ji haath se gir gaya tha, toot gaya." All those things which we are very good at. So what I am suggesting is, as far as the rural area is concerned, there is no better verifier than the Lambardar or the Panch or the Sarpanch of that village. They are the persons whose testimony and verification is recognized and accepted in law at the time of even registration. So what I am saying is, if the guy is coming for the first time, his it is not in the database. We have given a certificate, verification certificate, where he just fills in the Sarpanch, Panch, Lambardar, any two of the three guys. They sign it with their names. He comes with that. We scan it, again keep in the records, and based on that, treat it as having been verified so that the database builds up along that for the whole family. We are debating on it, how to keep improving on that process. Sorry.
Thank you. In the interest of time again, what we'll do is that we'll quickly fast forward a little bit here. But before we fast forward, I want to draw your attention to the top of the certificate. The point that Mr. Malik was making is that, please notice, can we zoom in a little bit if possible? Yeah. The text does not, no longer says, like in the regular scenario, that this has been issued based on the verification of the Halka body. Okay. Instead of that, it says, this is being issued based on the verified records that are in the state resident database. Okay, that is a key process differentiation that we would like to make. Okay, if you have verified information in the state resident database, you can get service directly from there. How it got there is definitely a record that we do keep in back then. Okay, and that original verification could have been by the uncovered one. Okay, but the certification itself is based on authenticated, verified data that we hold in the database. Good. Okay, let's close the demo here. And a few of the, there is a lot more to the software. The software is about 12 different applications that are out there. Instead of boring you with all the different modules here, what I would like to do is to quickly make a few more points. Thank you. Before that, I would actually like to call the core members of my team to this. So what are we talking about? We're talking about the power of data. Okay, if we have good data, how easy it can make the life of citizens and the life of the government folks through identity, through location. Okay? And this power of data is harnessed through integration. Okay, so we're putting it at the fingertips and paving the way with integration. We have applied it in citizen service delivery. Okay, this is what you have seen. Okay. And then we have shown it how we can dramatically improve the experience of citizens as they come. They are no longer required to repeat the same process. Okay. We have seen simple payment integration based on trusted intermediation. Those of you who are interested in knowing more about the payment integration, we can talk about it separately. This is designed to fit neatly into the CSC project, the eSeva project that my colleague Sumantra is running. What we didn't show is, just right at the time I wanted to score a warning point in case busy leaves. Okay, no issues. We are integrating, we are using the SCCC data. Okay, now we could also integrate other pieces. We have built elaborate data enrichment systems. I was talking about if your photograph is more than 2 years old, we prompting you, we have an old photograph of yours, could you please take a snap of your new one? Only when you come to the citizen service center. Okay, it prompts. Similarly, if your date of birth proof is not on our record, we'll give you a minor incentive. We do not have your date of birth proof. Next time you come, please get me a proof document. Okay, and why should I bring the proof document? Well, if you need anything, any service that is based on verified age or date of birth, then definitely you would be motivated to do it. If you don't need it, it's okay. So our database is designed to live with imperfect data and do with perfection, deal with perfection only where it is available and where it is needed. If it is neither available nor needed, then we have a problem. Until then, no issues. Okay? So we'll just keep moving based on that. So there is elaborate data enrichment piece. This data enrichment piece also correlates. For example, if 4 people, or rather you have 4 different records in 4 different databases, and we are for the first time identifying these as potential duplicates, with your help we will mark all of them. If in them multiple name spellings, multiple date of births, all of them it will help you correlate, correct and move forward.
As a matter of fact, let me share. The intention is that in respect of how many services we can enable delivery of service to a resident, to a citizen, who can simply walk onto the counter and he says, I am so and so, I need 1 out of these 5 certificates no application, please give me a second. Where he stood, just wait for 2 minutes, sit here, my system is verifying it, and if it is verified, he gets it. Ideally, the situation is he should not need to come to the common service center. He should be able to get it from his own virtual home, wherever he is. But the digital divide, as it is today, is not leading us to that situation. Ideally, that should be the situation. But as long as that gap is there, we are looking at it in case of how many services it is possible, where the citizen can just walk in, no paper, no application, nothing, and he says, please give me this. Similarly, he is able to seek information with regard to his area or critical information about government. That is the intent with which incrementally we are going ahead with it, and that is how the data enrichment and correction is a process of it. As a matter of fact, I was so happy when Deputy Commissioner Panchkula is so enthused. He said, मुझे आप जो डेटा है, जितना गंदा जैसा भी है, विलेज वाइज मुझे दे दीजिए, मैं उस डेटा से ग्राम सभा की मीटिंग करवा के और उसके जितने वेरिएबल्स हैं, मैं उस डेटा को वैलिडेट करा के आपको दूं. And we will sign off. The Tahsildar, the BDO, the Sarpanch, the Lambardar, they will sign off the corrected data, validated data. Once that is sitting over there in your system, you don't need it. That is where we are trying to look at it.
So, just a few highlights. I will not take too long. Okay, we talked about data and data integration. The model is built around not just individual, which is the individual portion of it is based on Aadhaar. Okay, but we are extending it to the family using SCCC, and today from the Himachal folks, I got this new idea that I will also start pulling in data from the Haryana sub. Address, location, from there we build the household, organizations, organization units, and authorizations based on organizations, directors, managers, whoever, and events. We talked about process integrations, how it can truly build delight in the processes. Software integration, a whole bunch of stuff. We can talk about them in leisure. Whole bunch of other integration, operations integration, not only with the eSeva and e-Disha centers, but also, for example, for self-service portals. I'm now trying to work with the SSDG State Portal project, so that the same way services are auto-discovered in this area, we can do the same thing there. Okay? So that every time there's a new service, every time there's a new application software, they do not need to go and plead with the state portal guys, please mera thoda add kar do. Okay? So similarly, we've shown the map-based MIS integration, identity management, and a few pieces. We've also shown you a small glimpse of the mobile app integration. Okay. Now, with this, I just want to leave there, okay, with a very quick, I will not describe all this, picture of how many different systems are there. These are the number of systems that we have built in order to bring you this demo. And all the functionalities out there. All of them talk to the heart. What is at the center is the heart, which is the equivalent of the service delivery gateway. We call it the library TOS interconnect. This is how it looks like. Now, with that, all I want to say is, before I leave it, if you have any questions, you can take them. I would like to invite the key guardians of my project, some from the past and some will be carrying it into the future. First, Kansham Bansal. He is the one who is most likely to be taking this project into the future by adoption, by allowing this to be integrated to various other applications. Could you please come, Kanshamji? Yes. Alok is the project manager, he's also part of the team, now part of our team together. We'd like to call it our team. Rochak Chauhan. Rochak is the architect behind this whole piece. He was the one who wrote the bulk of the code and made this happen. Mani is our conscience keeper. Every time we try to take a shortcut, he comes and fixes us and helps us. He's also in charge of the production data. And last but not the least, we do have an unexpected visitor, a core member from our team, Mrunalini. Mrunalini is the project manager from CDAC who is now going to take it into the future. Sorry, I didn't give you prior notice, I wasn't too sure. Thank you very much. This is my core team. Some of us from the past, Gochak and Mani have been there from the beginning. Ghanshyam, Alok and Mrunalini will be taking it into the future. Gochak will be there with us as we go ahead. Thank you very much for this opportunity.